Facebook, it's your friendly nosy neighbors, Jessica Cardin.
And Chad Murdock.
With the Murdock Manwaring Company. Thanks for joining us today. And we are, by the way, if you love local businesses, like we do,
love local businesses,
we hope you'll like and follow our page. By the way, there's some great local businesses that we've highlighted recently, and we would sure love you to check them out and go support those businesses.
Yeah, they're part of the community, and we
They are
support them as part of the community. Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
And if you love real estate like we love real estate, we love real estate, and we are in an interesting part of the market. So if you want to know where you fit in on that market, call us. We'd love to explain it, teach you kind of how the market's going, and if you want, we always say with good information you can make good decisions. So
and right now information is key.
Information is key. You got to know where things are. So
and make sure to head over to Murdock Manwaring Company and check it out. And by the way, we're having a contest coming up. Make sure to check that out. All right.
We're on 17th Street.
17th Street, as you can hear, we are at 1369.
1379.
No, I was trying, I didn't make it.
1379 East 17th Street.
Wow.
We have St. Clair just east of us. We have Aaron's Furniture Store next to us. And I think most people who drive down 17th Street a lot, I mean, you've seen this. You've seen this.
Yeah.
You know, they converted this home into a business, and which we love to see.
Yeah.
And it's
I'm crying.
Hands of Hope.
Hands of Hope, Home Health and Hospice. So I think there's a lot of misconceptions, but this is a super important part of when someone gets older or has struggles, this is crucial in their lives.
Yeah, and we were referred here, but this is actually who took care of my dad in his last few weeks of his life. So,
well, let's go and talk to him.
Okay, sounds good.
Let's talk about what they do. Yeah, when there gets to the point where you have a parent or a family member or even a friend who is at the point where they can't take care of themselves and it's toward the end of their life, man, it is a hard decision to know what to do.
And I think there's a lot of misconceptions.
Yeah, I think there really is.
And a lot that we learned through the process too.
Absolutely. So. I'd rather learn it before it's a problem.
Yep.
Well, hello. So we're the nosy neighbors, wondering if we can ask some questions.
Well, welcome.
Well, look at this welcome wagon. Look how sweet you are. He says,
our therapy dog, Caper.
That is how most people run away from the camera, just like that. He's like, oh, I'm getting comfortable. Well, awesome. So tell us who you guys are.
So we're Hands of Hope, Home Health and Hospice.
Wait, before you begin, who are you specifically?
I'm Janell Price. I'm the administrator.
And I'm Kathy Huntsman. I'm the Director of Nurses for Hospice.
Oh, and now you're answering my next question. So tell us, what is Hands of Hope?
So Hands of Hope, we are Home Health and Hospice. We started about 15 years ago. And we started with just hospice and added home health about 6 years later. So we do both of those things in the home for people that need us, and we go out to the home and provide both services. Home health kind of focuses more on getting better, so following a surgery, or if you have a wound or need an infusion or catheter changes, things that we can do in the home to help keep someone safe at home and that can't go out easily to the physician. We focus on improvements, especially after surgeries. We go in for a few weeks with therapy, strong, and hit it strong to get people back to where they can be hopefully running around and right back active.
And
following
babies.
A surgery. And babies. We love our babies. So after
and babies? What do you mean?
Home health babies.
We do home health babies. In fact,
that's new.
That was a big passion of Jill that started our company. She worked with babies for many years, and when she moved to Idaho, she's like, no one does babies in the home. Someone needs to help these preemies and kids with cancer and stuff. So she started our pediatric program, and so we have like preemies that are just born early and need that extra help to grow. We monitor and help educate parents to help them grow, and then we have our kids, facing difficult things like cancer and difficulties like that, and it's truly an honor to be able to go in and educate parents and make them feel like they're not in it alone. We got this with them.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
And so the hospice side, we do end-of-life care comfort measures. So, and that doesn't mean just the last couple weeks. There's a misconception with a lot of people that hospice is completely end-of-life only. they do have to have what's called a terminal illness, and people think that that sometimes is only cancer, but we have dementia patients, heart failure patients, COPD, respiratory failure, of course cancers, but it doesn't mean they have to wait till the very end. The doctor has to say, if they don't treat aggressively, that they have 6 months or less, and if they don't get treatment. So once someone chooses hospice, they're usually choosing to stay at home, not go to the doctor anymore. The nurses become the eyes and ears, hospice nurses for the doctors. They can use their own primary medical doctor and keep them as their doctor, where they can switch to our medical director is Dr. Boyd Southwick.
One of the most respected doctors.
He
in
is
this
such an
community.
amazing man, and we're so glad to have him as our medical director. He educates us nurses
And
quite
he
often.
cares a lot.
In fact, yesterday he gave us an in-service on the COVID vaccine and why
Yeah.
it's needed and why masking's needed. And so anything, in fact, I've tried to stump him before, bring up a new acronym.
I do too.
And he always
he
knows.
always
So
just,
I
you know,
appreciate that
teaches
we
me
have
lessons.
such a
Yeah.
smart man on board with us. And we can get a hold of him. We have a HIPAA compliant text line that we're texting him on a daily basis about patients. And then, of course, we do meet with them every 2 weeks in a meeting and go over patients and their needs and their
So-
comfort levels.
Let me ask this: who is the patient of hospice? Is it someone who's on Medicare? Or is it on private insurance? What if they don't have insurance? How does that work?
We take them all. So there is rarely an insurance that we can't take. And they've all come on board with hospice and palliative and things like that very easily.
What if they don't have insurance?
We do a case-by-case basis. So it's very crucial to get hospice if you can. It's such a benefit. So if we can make it happen, we are going to make it happen.
As people
Well,
are
it's so
elderly, though, they have
overwhelming.
Medicare, right?
So overwhelming
Right.
at the
Our
end.
elderly
Right.
do, but there's a lot in that middle zone that don't quite meet Medicare age. Maybe haven't applied for Medicaid. We have a social worker that's wonderful, and she helps figure out, do they help them with the paperwork for Medicaid if they need that, come up with other resources, but we have done charity basis before. And
So if I understand
willing-
right, kind of the misconception is that it's kind of the last 2 weeks of life is what I
Yes.
hear. But what you're saying is if someone feels like they've accepted that the end is near within about 6 months or so and a doctor agrees with that, then they're probably need to be getting hold of you sooner than later, because otherwise they wait too long and then
It's
the
really
caregiver
hard.
can almost die.
It's really
just
hard
taking care
to
of them.
cure the pain, cure the anxiety. If we can get on board as it's starting to happen, and they just have to be in that frame of mind that hospice is what they're ready for, and the family.
Yeah.
Hospice not only takes care of the patient, but we take care of the family. And then after a patient dies, we have a bereavement program that lasts at least a year, and our social worker does most of that. Telephone calls, flyers on what normal grief is, holiday season, we know you're struggling, call us if you need us. And if somebody does need some counseling, Brianna, our social worker, is really willing. They'll come in here or she'll go to their home and do grief counseling afterwards. Beforehand, we've had young mothers and they have teenage kids or younger, and she'll really focus on the children and work with them even before the death occurs. But our
So-
goal is comfort, to stay at home, and safety. We go anywhere they call home. Assisted livings, their home, their son's home. If they're in a home and they have to move to an assisted living, we can help that transition.
So if someone is in a position with a loved one and they're overwhelmed, but they don't know, no one knows if you're 6 months or not.
No.
What do they do if they don't know it's 6 months, but they're starting to get very overwhelmed with life?
There's a
for
couple
them
different
as a
options for
caregiver?
that. They can
Yeah.
call us
Uh-huh.
and we can call their doctor for them. We can go out and just evaluate before we call the doctor and see, do they qualify for hospice? Might they be a home health option? Might be better if we can get them stronger if they want that. Improve something before they choose to go hospice and then go hospice. They can go into their doctor and discuss it with their doctor before they come on board, and the
Yeah.
doctor will just send us orders. If they just mention that they would like to go with Hands of Hope, the doctor's office sends it right over to us to go evaluate.
Got it.
But we don't have to have a doctor's order to evaluate. They can call and just say, can you come talk to us? Or we can do it over the phone. I have family members out of state that call me sometimes. And
the cost of an evaluation is
no cost.
Free.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
just happy to do it and
So
provide
a
the
resource,
information.
if you don't know what to do, you're feeling overwhelmed, call you guys.
Is this a situation where if someone is needing a significant amount of medical attention, is that the first step to go, I think I need to think about this? You know, if someone's sick, a parent is sick, and maybe maybe it's at a point that we don't know if this is going to be terminal. Do they still call that point, or do they wait for the point where they're like,
you know what, they can call
I'm overwhelmed.
and just get information at any point. There's a lot of phone calls I'll take and I'll refer them. Doesn't sound like you're quite ready for home health or hospice, or there's not that skilled need for home health, or they don't meet the qualifications set out by Medicare yet for hospice, but they do need help. And there's other options, personal care services, companies in town we work with really well. We can give them the information to try to call them. Those are private pay services, but we can help. Just give information.
Because sometimes that's the most overwhelming part of all this. I don't know I've never had an aging someone that I am, so now all of a sudden the person to make the decisions. That was interesting for us as our mom was sick, is what do? No one trains you on what to do when your parents get older and
take care
sick.
of us,
Yeah.
so now we suddenly have to take care of them.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yes, yeah. It's hard being especially that sandwich generation. But
So speaking of that, how does someone get a hold of you guys?
So
if they have questions and things.
Our phone number is 208-523-7441, and we're here all the time. We have a nurse on call 24 hours a day. If it's questions regarding services, it's best to call and get one of us, just because we do know more of what qualifies and stuff. But they're happy, of course, to answer as well. And we're here available.
Weekends, if they're your loved one's in the hospital can make the call, and we can go admit on weekends. Even if they're not in the hospital and they're just stressed on a weekend and they're like, okay, I just need to talk to somebody, the nurse on call can come out and evaluate, talk on the phone. We're available 24/7 for our nurses and our staff. So if they're not quite sure, they get a hold of us on a weekend, nighttime, and we do what we can do to help the needs.
What about if you've got kids or family members and they're out of state, they're not here, and their parent lives alone? Can you guys do an evaluation for that? Would you give them advice on maybe they need to move to assisted living? Or you guys can help with all of them just knowing what to do?
And I tell families, I'm a very honest person.
Yeah.
I'm pretty blunt being a hospice nurse. So I like to say it like it is, even though it sounds harsh sometimes, because
You got to set the right expectations.
right,
People are
if it
hanging
were
on
my loved
everything you
one
say,
and I didn't
so-
understand what was going on, I want somebody to be blunt with
you
me.
can't sugarcoat.
And
You gotta-
sometimes, I love all our doctors, but sometimes the doctors are not real upfront, or they don't know how to quite say, we're getting to the end, maybe it's, and sometimes the doctors don't understand hospice themselves, what the full requirements, they think it's the last 2 weeks of life. So, yeah, we've had patients on for a couple years with a slow, but Medicare sets out the rules, and we reevaluate every few months and make sure those rules are still being met, and as long as they qualify. And then on occasion, we do have patients graduate from hospice, and then we've had them come back on a year later. So there's no limit. It's just the nurses know we watch those qualifications. If they're improving, they go off. We help find the resources they need, be it maybe home health.
So people are afraid of big bills, right? So the first thing that popped into my head is you have someone who's qualified and then they graduate and they actually don't go. Are they stuck with any extra bill?
No.
Or is it
Nope.
covered? And is there a penalty if they do come to the last 6 months later on and then they've already used up their,
Nope, Medicare, Medicaid, and most insurances are great that way.
Okay.
Medicare and Medicaid both cover 100%. Most insurances do as well, especially a Medicare Advantage plan. A Medicare Advantage plan actually reverts back to Medicare once you go on hospice. So you've got full coverage, you don't have to worry about it. As long as they meet criteria, they are covered 100%. And that that responsibility falls on us to make sure they are meeting criteria. It's never them saying. We are the ones signing off, yes, they met criteria, and we're the ones responsible to discharge once they don't.
And if we did something wrong, which we don't, that way, but if Medicare came back, they would come back on us, not the family.
Okay.
Yep, and we accept that responsibility greatly.
Yeah, this is a big deal. It's a big deal, and if you've never been in it, you would much rather have learn about this now before you're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Right.
That is probably the worst part. Is this is stuff you don't want to deal with.
Right.
So it's not until you have to that it comes up, and then
It's almost a breaking
difficult.
point.
It is
when they call, because they don't, it's our responsibility to help. We do whatever we can do, but then, at one point it's just,
And there
you
is
can't.
no age on either side. Like we said, we go from babies, be at home health or hospice, to we have a 101-year-old is our oldest right now, and we love it. We love our patients. And on hospice, we get to do some extra loving things. We went and cut a lady's hair the other day that was all matted because she couldn't get out of her chair, and it just was a rat's nest. And so one of our cosmetologists went over. It's not a depressing time. People say to me all the time, what a depressing job you have. And I'm like, my people are so grateful and I just fall in love with them.
Yeah.
And I always say I maybe put a little shell around my heart, and then I go out in the car and cry.
Yeah.
But I look at it as coming into this life, the going out. Somebody needs that help.
Yeah.
And we do fall in love with our patients.
The only guarantee we have in life is it will end.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And some people want to go to the hospital to pass, and that's okay. Some people hear the word hospice and it makes them scared, and they'll stay on
hard to
home
accept
health
sometimes, right?
because those ones that want to keep fighting, I don't know if that's the right word, but they want that doctor. They
want independence.
Yes.
They don't want help. They
and
don't want
that's
to accept
okay.
it.
And we work that out with them. We might not be able to be in there. Home health might be able to, or we'll try to help them figure out what's their best option.
One thing I love about what we get to do is our patients get to drive their care. So
that's not what I was thinking you're saying. Our patients all drive.
They don't get to drive. They want to drive. They
I don't know if that should be a blanket policy.
Yeah, but like to decide how you want to spend the rest of your quality of life, the rest of your days, we honor that.
Yeah.
We get to honor that. We get to be a part of that. Same with home health. We'll help you as much as you want to be helped, but you get to have your own goals. You get to say what you want in your care, and we get to listen. And that's one awesome thing about, we were started by a nurse, and she had that mentality. We're not driven by a number on your paper. We're not driven by anything but what you as a patient are looking for with your end goal. Where do you want to be, and how creative do we get to get you there?
And culture, we respect culture. I'll share, we do have a man on right now, very neat story that he's being very careful of what he takes. He's toughing through some pain because he's of Native American background, and he wants to be like his ancestors, and we respect that. We teach, we give options, will you try this, will you try that, but he is driving his plan, even though if it's not something that we're like, oh, that's not what I would do, but that's what he wants to do, and we're behind him 100% because that's his culture and that's his wish. And so it's really neat to watch.
Well, I think about this, and I think about when our mom passed, and I realized we didn't utilize a lot of these services because we as kids thought we should be taking care of her. It's my job to take care of her. And I realize now I probably should have reached out a little more, and she may have had a better experience because then she was choosing instead of us making choices. That's really probably, that you guys just had an aha moment for me. I wish I would have had it 6 years ago. Yeah.
And we have a great interdisciplinary team from Dr. Southwick, the office staff. We've got a great team. We've got nurses, RNs, LPNs, CNAs, physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists,
social workers
on both sides.
Yeah.
So, and
we have a chaplain, we have dietitian that we can consult with.
What I'm really getting out of all of this is don't wait, and don't do this alone. Don't wait to reach out. Don't do it alone, And if you're someone who wants to have independence, maybe even you take that and say, you know what? I'm going to not wait for my kids to make my decisions. I'm going to do some investigation. Maybe you know that that's coming down the road as you start to feel a little worse or you're having some health issues.
Yeah.
So super smart.
In real estate, we always say with good information, you can make good decisions.
Right.
And it's hard to make good decisions if you don't know the information. So, I mean, they don't know. So, I mean, they need to talk to you, call
and we
you,
love to
find
talk.
out.
We love to talk.
No one should be given parents until they go through this class of understanding the tools and resources to work with your parents.
Yeah. There should be a parent. Yeah, to
Maybe a
have a parent,
40?
you need to be certified.
And
Should there be
Once
a
you're 40 years old, you need to do
certification?
parent certification.
That's a good idea. I'm going to go ahead and put that out there.
Our
Mandatory
90-year-old
period.
parents become like our teenagers were.
It's true.
They're so independent and think, how many times do I hear, well, I'm not going to fall? And I say, says every patient to me right before they will fall. When I walk out the door and then they fall.
It's crazy. All right, well, you guys, is there anything that we missed that everyone should know about it? Anything we didn't get covered?
I think we overloaded you.
Hey, I love it. Tell us one more time your contact information.
So we're Hands of Hope, Home Health and Hospice. We are on 17th Street, 1379 East 17th Street, and our phone number is 208-523-7441. I'm Janelle. I'm Home Health Side.
I'm Kathy. I'm the Hospice Director of Nurses. Call us anytime or stop by. We have people stop by and chit-chat. And then
Do you guys have a website with resources?
we do have a website.
What's your website?
It is www.handsofhopeinc.com.
And we're on Facebook.
Fantastic. Okay, thanks you guys.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks for
Great
stopping by.
information. Really, really good. You guys, this is
Appreciate it.
not exciting always to think about, but man,
It's a
if
tough
you
time.
know before it begins, what a
Oh,
great
it's such
thing.
a hard time. And if you have help, I mean,
Yeah.
So,
This is a great group. They got a great doctor. They got great people working here. It's fantastic. All right, give them a call. All righty. This has been Jessica Carden,
and Chad Murdock,
your nosy neighbors, keeping you
in the know.
The nosy neighbors keeping you in the know.
The nosy neighbors keeping you in the know.
Nosy neighbors keeping you in the know.
The nosy neighbors keeping you in the know.
Nosy neighbors keeping you in the know.
So the nosy neighbors keeping you in the know.
The nosy neighbors are going to keep you in the know.